Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair, everybody. My name is Wade, and this is my show Only Lore, where we're talking about the Warhammer 40k timeline. So this is episode 2. This is the Age of Progress. If you missed the episode about the War in Heaven, which is episode 1, go ahead and check that out. And if you don't know what Chrono Strife is, go ahead and check out episode 0 so you can get the explanation of that. So at the end of the War in Heaven, that's about 65 million years ago. There's this big gap. So the old ones are said to be extinct. The Necrons go into stasis, and the Orcs and the Eldar are what's left to sort of run the galaxy. The Eldar get very bored, very weirdly, strangely, grossly bored. They start doing all sorts of weird stuff. And it turns into Hellraiser orgies real quick. Anyways, so there's a huge gap in the timeline that goes to 8000 BC. So 65 million years ago to 8000 BC. And we're using sort of the human scale of things because arguably in the Warhammer 40k universe, most of the narrative comes from the human perspective. So on Earth, at about 8000 BC, there is this group of psychers that are powerful. Now, even at this time in history, psychers are rare. So for there to be a group of powerful psychers on Earth is even rarer. And they were called the shaman. So the shaman get together and they decide there's going to be this giant apocalypse and no one will be able to stop it. So we have to make a plan. And the shaman's plan is they basically like sacrifice themselves to bind their psychic power together. And this becomes a new person who becomes known as the Emperor. Big E right there. They call, when he's born, he's called Neo, so Neoh. If anyone ever asks you what the Emperor's name is, when he was a child, it was Neo. And he was born like a person, like a regular person, but he discovered that he had, and Henry Cavill is the only person who I'll ever let play the Emperor, and yes, that's why that's up there. But he realized he's got psychic powers, and then as he got older, he's like, there's this problem coming down the line. He's got all sorts of psychic powers, godlike psychic powers, right? There's this problem coming down the line, and so he's the one who's going to save humanity. He's not just going to save humanity from all the problems that like aliens cause. He's going to save humanity from itself as well, which is why he's known as the Emperor of Mankind. So he is hiding sort of in the background, and he is playing several different roles. Sometimes it's a philosopher, sometimes it's a general, sometimes it's a doctor, but he's sort of guiding mankind in the background, basically since 8000 BC. He is also a perpetual, which means if he dies, he's just reborn with the exact same soul. He knows everything, he has all his powers. And that's one of the biggest secrets of 40k because, and I'll get into it further on, the Emperor is attached to the Golden Throne, which is what's keeping his body alive. Now, his psychic essence has been traveling in the warp and traveling through time and space. It has been seen, it has been noted on occasions. He has communicated with Gilliman at least once. And every indication is his psychic essence is getting stronger. So I'm predicting eventually the Emperor will come back. That's just me. But his psychic essence is getting stronger in the warp. And that's one of the big secrets is everyone doesn't know that if they would just let him die, he would be reborn. And then the God Emperor of mankind would walk amongst us once again. And we would be a lot stronger and a lot better off if we would just let his body die. And that's one of the big secrets is because nobody knows that. They think it's good to keep him alive, which is where you get Corpse Emperor and, all that stuff. That's where all that comes from. He, at this stage, he's working on his plans. So he's got some different projects. He's got the Thunder Warriors, ultimately the Space Marines, and the Custodes, and the Webway project. He's got plans. He's got ideas. He hasn't hatched any of them yet. He hasn't revealed any of them yet. He's working on stuff. This is kind of the stage in human history where he's becoming an expert on all types of science and all studies and all practices. So he's kind of like becoming mega cool in this time. Um, so there's a pretty big gap. So, like I said, 65 million years ago to 8,000 BC. And then from 8,000 BC to 15,000 AD is called the Age of Progress. And that's where we colonize the solar system. So our solar system is what's called the solar system. And we colonize Mars. Mars was terraformed at one point in time, and it was like a paradise. It doesn't stay that way, but that's what happened, and that's how you get the people that come to live there that eventually become the Mechanicus. And there's a difference between the Mechanicus and the Mechanicum, but that we're not to that stage yet. So we're still at the Age of Progress. Man is on its rising action still. We haven't hit the pinnacle yet, but at around the end of 15,000 AD, we have populated the solar system, and we're looking to reach out to outside of our galaxy. Sorry, outside of our solar system. Like I said, Mars and several other planets are colonized, and we actually mine the asteroid fields like the Kuiper Belt and things like that. We mine everything we can get our hands on. Earth is running out of resources, and so we are literally grabbing everything we can get our hands on for resources. And it turns out that the solar system, our solar system, is very rich with resources. So when we start to colonize outside of our solar system, that is the end of the Age of Progress. And when the Age of Progress stops, is when you get the Dark Age of technology. Now, obviously, there's going to be a whole video about the Dark Age of technology, but you would ask yourself, why is it called the Dark Age of technology? And during that time, it wasn't called the Dark Age of technology. It's called that now, looking back at it. But we're going to get into that in a whole different video. So I really enjoy sharing this information with you guys. 40K lore is a passion of mine. It's during this time, the Age of Progress, that the Emperor begins to gather different friends to himself, other perpetuals. He doesn't meet Melkador the Sigillite just now. That's a lot closer to 30K. But he definitely knows Erda, who is a childhood friend of his. And Erda she's also a perpetual. And Erda winds up being the genetic example that's used to create the Primarchs. What's a Primarch? Who's a Primarch? We'll get into that during the correct era. But Erda is the individual who genetically is the mother of the Primarchs, just like the Emperor is the father of the Primarchs genetically. This is a cool time in 40K history because it's not even the pinnacle yet, and so this is kind of where we fall right now in real world human history. And obviously, we're not near the year 15,000, but it's kind of cool to see where we are now. Keep in mind, this is also where he's developing friendships and meeting other psychers and kind of becoming an expert at everything that he does, like gene crafting, for example, and in all those things. So I love sharing this information with you guys. I'm a big 40K lore junkie. If you haven't seen the first two videos, go ahead and check them out. And we here at the Dragon's Lair understand that you can spend your time anywhere on the internet. I want to say thank you for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.